As usual, a lot is happening in the world, and we'll be hearing what Nick Palveda and others have to say about this as we have World Edition here on Monday, March 30th, 2026. Trump is threatening to obliterate Iran's energy facilities if deal is not reached shortly. Trump is making that threat as Tehran is calling the U.S. plan unrealistic. Pentagon prepares for weeks of ground operation in Iran, and Trump reportedly wants to take the oil in Iran as Tehran targets water power facilities in Kuwait. So Iran has a new demand to end the war, and it could bring in billions. So we'll see what goes on in that place. Two Chinese container ships from Costco attempt Hormuz exit again. So multiple Chinese vessels retreat at Strait of Hormuz after Iran warnings in rare ally move. So U.S. troops have been wounded, planes damaged in Iranian strike on Saudi air base, officials say, and that was reported a few days ago, and everything like that. Finland is warning about drone activities to continue after breaches. So Finland reports a suspected territorial violation by drones. A Ukrainian stray drone that fell in Finland carried a warhead, police say. So two cross-border drones crashed in Finland. And Ukrainian drone, like I was saying, Ukrainian drone crashes in Finland. Kyiv blames Russian electronic warfare. And police shoot dead accused cop killer Desi Freeman in Victoria, that is in Australia. Australian police believe fugitive accused of killing two officers has been shot dead after 7 months in hiding. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. So he's been on the run for 7 months. And sovereign citizen fugitive is believed to be shot dead by the police after that 7 month manhunt in Australia. And can the Dubai dream survive the war? Residents say life goes on. Israeli-U.S. war is battering the UAE economy, wiping 120 billion from Abu Dhabi Dubai markets. So Iran war has turned Dubai into a ghost city. So security fears hit Palm Jumeirah as Iranian threats escalate. So definitely that's a area that was definitely very affluent, and it looks like it's definitely being decimated in its own way and everything like that. And Iran threatens to rain fire on U.S. troops as possible ground war looms. Iran accused the U.S. of plotting ground assault while publicly seeking talks, is what is being reported in The Guardian. Trump floats siege on Iran's stronghold as Tehran loosens grip on the Strait of Hormuz. So definitely there might be some more ground offensive as well. But Pakistan will be hosting a U.S. Iran peace talks within days. Pakistan prepares to host the peace talks as Iran accuses the U.S. of that ground assault plans. So definitely, Trump is saying, according to Al Jazeera, that he's pretty sure of an Iran deal. But can a Pakistani-led effort end the war? So we'll see how this all plays out as Pakistan is trying to play peacemaker, along with, I think, Turkey and some other nations in the Middle East as well. An Israeli parliament to vote on death penalty for Palestinians convicted of murdering Israelis. Israel to vote on death penalty targeting Palestinians guilty of lethal attacks. And the European nations are criticizing Israeli death penalty plans. So Knesset set to cast final votes on the death penalty bill. So that's something else that's on the news as well. And Orban will lose Hungary election in 2 weeks if it's clean. A youth-led push for change threatens Orban's 16-year rule in Hungary election. In Hungary, the first post-reality political campaign. And EU lawmakers widely support Magyar indecisive Hungarian election. And Pope Leo the 14th says God rejects prayers of leaders who wage war. Pope seems to rebuke headsets in remarks about leaders and all in that space. So the Pope's sermon this morning was a rebuke of Pete Hegseth, and he's rejecting the claim that God justifies war in his Palm Sunday Mass message. So he was basically saying that what Hegseth was saying was not correct from a biblical standpoint. And by the 50th anniversary of Land Day, Palestinians will lose most of their land. Young Palestinian artist marks Land Day with drawings in Gaza. So Land Day commemorated amid an unprecedented escalation in occupation crimes and violations. So definitely that's what happened as well. And some people are asking, since it's Land Day, what exactly happened in Palestine on March 30th, 1976. And I have to go back and do some research, and maybe Rick will do it for me and everything like that. But Israeli police block Catholic leaders from Palm Sunday Mass. So outrage grows over Israeli restrictions to Jerusalem sites during Holy Week. Israel blocks Cardinal from Jerusalem's Holy Sepulchre on Palm Sunday, sparking outcries. So Catholic leaders were barred from the Jerusalem Holy Site on Palm Sunday, which was this past Sunday. And central Haitian towns descends into fire and bloodshed from gang warfare. So there's other things going on in terms of violence and activities in other parts of the world, not just in Ukraine and in the Middle East also. And Chevron says repairs to Wheatstone gas facility to take weeks. Australian sky turns an apocalypse, like an apocalypse red, so an apocalyptic blood red, and week-long Australian LNG outage will further tighten supply. So definitely they're saying the Western Australian skies turned eerie red before tropical cyclone Narelle made landfall. And that's some of the things going on in the world. Let's see what's happening in the U.S. Then I'll bring in my fellow panelists and fellow folks here and see what they've got to say about a number of these things as well. So definitely, like I was saying, Trump is renewing plans to attack the energy sites there in the whole area of Iran, and ICE officers could remain at airports after TSA workers are paid. So Trump administration looks like TSA paid to resume, but ICE could remain at the airport, is what Thomas Homan is saying, and everything like that. U.S. Senator Alex Patella slammed proposed voter ID rules in the SAVE Acts. So that's still going on as well. And DNA DOE project identifies remains found on a Sonoma County beach. Looks like it's been traced back to a missing banker. So human bone found by family looking for shells on beach traced back to a banker missing since 1999. So they've been missing for about 27 years or something like that. And DNA experts identified John Doe for the second time, because his body was found on Sonoma County Beach, maybe for the second time, and everything like that. But they said partial remains of California banker missing since 1999 have been found twice, 23 years apart. So they must have found some of those bones earlier, and all in that space. And Trump officials cite white supremacists in bid to end birthright citizenship. So Trump's birthright citizenship orders at the Supreme Court splits conservative scholars. Supreme Court is hearing a landmark birthright citizenship case on Wednesday, and we'll see how this all plays out as well. I'm sure that Nick, being a lawyer, might have some thoughts about that as well. And a fighter jet intercepted a civilian plane above Palm Beach amid rumors. So fighter jet deploys flares, intercept plane near Trump's Florida estate. U.S. fighter jets escort the plane out of a no-fly zone near Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. So drone near Florida airport during Trump's Air Force One departure triggers security response. I know another thing that, because I was watching that on another news report earlier that people are talking about, is Artemis, I believe, is going to be taken to the air this week as well. So this is the 4-man mission that'll go around the moon, and it won't descend and land, but there's excitement about it because it's supposed to lead up to a moon landing and possibly a Mars landing as well. But yes, that's supposed to be taking place this week and everything like that. And Cincinnati's have joined the No Kings protest as organizers report record turnout. So 5 takeaways from the No King rallies as the midterms heat up, and all along those lines. No King protesters gather across the U.S. as Bruce Springsteen joined the rally in one of the areas as well. So a lot of No Kings things going on in that space. And Taiwan's opposition leader has accepted Xi's invite to visit China. Taiwan's opposition leader to visit China next month ahead of Trump. So Xi invites Taiwan opposition leader to China before the Trump summit. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. Going to bring in Rick Rosner. I did see another news story that you would be interested in, Rick. Watching, I think it might have been The Hill. And on The Hill, they were talking about the dating pool and how a lot of the young people aren't dating the way that they used to date, and all in that space. And I think I was watching ABC News or one of the other people, and they were bringing it up as well. So all this talk you've been having about young people not dating and other things like that, maybe there's some people on the networks that are listening to us and everything like that. That would be wishful thinking, but who knows? Maybe they are, because that's the first time I've heard them address what you've been addressing for almost a year.
I don't think they're listening. I think they're just looking at the trends.
Yeah.
That we need 2.1 children per woman to maintain a stable population in the U.S. without immigration. We're at 1.58, which is less than 80%. So if we didn't have immigration, we would be dropping in population. As is, we've got the slowest population growth rate in the history of the country.
Yeah.
But all right, beyond that, Trump was on, he likes to, when he flies around from back and forth from Mar-a-Lago, which I guess is, I don't know, maybe a 90-minute flight on Air Force One, likes to stand in the doorway and talk to the reporters. And he was doing that over the weekend. And he wasn't talking about the war. He had a bunch of big old poster boards he was holding up showing his big, new, beautiful ballroom, and that he wants to replace the fairly simple columns in front of the White House with more intricate Corinthian columns. And I was in bed just bummed out last night because there's no limit as to what this guy might do. He's desperate. He's going to lose the House of Representatives in the midterms. And I'm afraid that he might do something really insane, like drop a nuke on Iranian's oil processing island, Karg Island.
You might just do just about anything. I think we got Nick. Like I said, I was seeing some stories that we've been dealing with on the network, so that was good to see and everything like that. It was wishful thinking that they're listening to us and everything. But one of the other stories that I know Shaquille used to talk about, and other people talked about it as well, I think even Jim Eade and others, was the poly market. So that was a whole other story, because apparently you can bet on just about anything, like when the Karg Islands will be blown up, and when who will win the game. So somebody made a lot of money because they bet that Connecticut would cause that last second shot to knock Duke out of it and everything like that. But you can bet on just about anything and everything like that, including things that are haven't historically always been bet on. But with the poly market, you can bet on just about anything.
I got poly market up right here. So 76% that U.S. forces invade Iran this year.
Right. That part I would agree that it's at least 76%. You don't have 50,000 soldiers hanging out on the Persian Gulf just to hang out. So there's a good chance boots will go on the ground, and a good chance that they'll actually take over that Kruger Island or whatever it is. That has all the oil. Yeah. So I would say that would be a fair chance that is what's going to happen.
Well, there's a little bit of good news in that, Trump's objectives and Hegseth's objectives have been very unclear and shifting. At least if they did something like with a clear objective, Karg Island, fine.
Karg Island, yeah.
To
take that island, that would be fine, because
well, I hate to be morbid, but look at the poly market. Is there any kind of bets on whether there will be casualties? Because we've done offenses where we've had hardly no casualties. I think that's what happened with Grenada and everything like that. But
you're not poly market doesn't let you bet on people dying. So
really? Okay.
They have some moral standards.
Oh, really? Okay. They have moral standards that just so happens to not be very high. But gamblers will bet on anything. I mean, the thing is,
and there's some people that will do that kind of gambling. Because I was watching it was a fictional show, but it's actual betting. There are some people that will bet on when you'll expire or different other things. So I know
there's the Deadpool movies, right?
That's what I can't think of, right?
All right, Deadpool, a superhero, is named after a popular trend of the 1990s, which was that people had lists of people they thought were celebrities they thought were going to die. Because somebody's 92 years old, he's on your Deadpool.
Speaking of things, and I want to get back to serious news, but speaking of that, last week we lost a major celebrity, because I used to watch Texas Walker Ranger. So
Texas Ranger, yeah.
Yeah, what was your take on that? Because he did pass away and everything like that. It was a natural cause. I think he'd been fighting the illness for a while, but that was a cult classic, I would say, and everything like that. So it was sad to hear of his death, even though he was an older gentleman.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was in his 80s. And, Walker, Texas Ranger became, some people enjoyed it in a straightforward way. Some people enjoyed it ironically because it was pretty cheesy. The dialogue wasn't great. It was kind of really lazy 80s, 90s television, where,
But there's another show that's on now that's that way, and I've actually come to like it and everything like that. And that's the show that is called Marshall, which is somewhat like Walker, Texas Ranger, but it's about the U.S. Marshals and everything.
I'm sure that the dialogue is better because now they do a thing now called breaking scripts. They have a writer's room with maybe 8 people in it, including like a couple people who used to work as U.S. Marshals, and they put up the plot on index cards or maybe a high-tech equivalent of that, and then they go over the plot, and you have 8 smart people, maybe more, and they're like, well, what can we do to make this plot point better? Do we really want this plot point? And they go over it for hours, and then they look at the dialogue. They maybe send a script writer off to write the script, then they come back, and then they go over the dialogue again and again until it doesn't suck, until they've made everything as good as it can possibly be. And I feel like less of that happened.
There's less of that. Chicago Fire, a number of other ones are much more straightforward. Hey, I know that some other political people are trying to put this war in a religious context. Like I said, I was watching some news yesterday, and they were talking about how they wanted to overthrow the theocracy, which is what Iran is, and everything like that. And it is a theocratic regime and everything like that, run by the mullahs and everything like that. But then I also heard that the Pope was upset at Hedges for trying to put it in those religious terms. So I know that you've somewhat involved in your church, or at least you were, Nick, and everything like that. So what is your take on this whole notion of this being a religious war in addition to just a regular war and everything like that? Because there are some people that I guess are trying to say that it's to put it in religious context. Even Pete Hedges made a context about it being a religious war.
I don't think so. What I think you have is a regime that's pretty, how you say, ruthless in terms of their enforcement. If what we're hearing is the correct thing, which is what they do, is they just slaughter their own people if you disagree with them, and that's what you got over there. That's what I think you have over there. I don't know. My wife.
Here's what AI says. Does AI know what it's talking about? Often it kind of does. They say that only about 15 to 20% of Iranians support the current regime, and 70 to 80%, want a different system, with 89% supporting democracy. But I don't know how you get there.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you think about it, if you allow 15% of the population or a small group to come in, take over the government and rule it by ruthless force, then, is that right? I mean, the thing is, so from that standpoint, and then the thing is, if you look at what they say, death to Israel, death to America, death to Israel, death to America, and they chant that all the time, they're obviously not our friends. So, what I'm just curious as to what the response of this administration is going to be, because 15% of around 100 million is how many people are we talking about?
15 million people. I mean, the regime has all the guns. They've got.
Yeah, no, right. But the thing is, it's because they have such a large population. 15% of 100 million, or it's 90 million really. But the thing is, let's say it's 100 million. Math is easier. You have 15 million or 10 to 15 million people that are adamant to, fight the U.S. That's a large amount of people, So they control the other 80 or 90 million, but how is the United States or anybody going to get rid of a cancer that's big? I don't know. My thinking, of course, I would be ruthless, which one reason I couldn't be a politician. I'll just clean them out. But the thing is, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we don't know yet. But will boots go on the ground? Yes. Are they going to take the island? Yes. And under the new technology they have, this will be very interesting. Can't because they control the skies. I know if you're walking around here outside, I don't know how these people are going to be able to walk around without the U.S. and Israel just shooting them down. But we'll see. It's yet to be played out. So we'll see. It's going to take longer than people think.
So the oil hit a new. I mean, the price of gas hit $3.99 a gallon nationwide average today. So there's a fair chance that we hit $4 a gallon sometime this week.
Yeah, but that's the U.S., which is an exporting country. How about who's it really going to hurt? It's China and India, which have to import all their oil. Spain imports some, but Spain over here, you have a lot of the energy is solar, and they're all like on electronic. They're off the grid.
Your prime minister just pulled the U.S.'s privilege to land jets in Spain on the way to fight.
I know. Yeah, the Spain is a very passive nation. They don't want to be involved in any conflicts, so it's just a little different. But the reality is there is a conflict over there, and the reality is, what are you, as Mr. Wonderful would say to the U.S., what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
There's a lot of options on the table.
Nick, there's a country that is being, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, and I know people that used to go there for business deals. As a matter of fact, we had one of them that had her own show here for a while and everything like that. That being Renee. I'm trying to think of Renee's last name and everything like that. But there was definitely a lot of people that were enjoying traveling. I think even Coco has been there a couple of times to Dubai and the UAE area. But it looks like that area has been decimated. And we know that a lot of times there can be some very nice tourist areas that can be decimated and they may never recover. So I just want to, as one that is a world traveler, I know you just came back from, I think it was Venice or something like that. What is your take on these tourist places that are being hit and may never recover? Like
Dubai is not decimated by any stretch of the imagination. They've taken a little shrapnel, but they're definitely not decimated. And the UAE says they're going to seize Iranian assets, which will be very interesting to see how that goes. But it just shows you what that regime's all about. In other words, they don't mind attacking their neighbors. They don't care. If you disagree with them or you agree with somebody that disagrees with them, they're there to take you out. So the real key thing isn't them. We know who they are. The real key thing is, who are we and how are we going to respond? Now, this No King's March doesn't help anything. It's the stupidest thing I ever saw. And of course, a bunch of stupid people come out and they jump around, no kings, no kings, no kings.
Well, you'd be so like No Kings.
It doesn't tell anybody anything, except you got a bunch of liberal idiots out there that have nothing better to do on a weekend except to jump up and down in a stupid parade. So I wish they would stop that.
Okay, it doesn't accomplish anything, but it might be practice for actually accomplishing something. It was possibly the largest protest in U.S. history. Maybe
really?
Maybe 8 million people turned out. But on a Saturday, I drove through two of the protests, just as and they don't. They don't shut down traffic. They actually had a guy in a yellow vest, like directing traffic to make sure people weren't inconvenienced.
Right.
But so it's really hard to shut down the U.S., and they certainly weren't trying to do that. But if at some point, if this war goes on for another 2 months, and they have a day of, in France and England, when people get pissed off and they strike, they try to shut down like transit systems or hospitals. They
do that here. They shut down the streets, which is just
right.
awful.
So if if people in the U.S. ever decide, somebody did some math and said that if you can get 3.5% of the U.S. population to turn out, which would be about 12 million people, you could, I guess, shut down the country. If they ever try to do that, and actually, their actions have some consequences, maybe Trump would pay some attention. I doubt it.
Well, speaking of paying attention, we have a J.D. Vance story that involves Ilhan Omar. So apparently J.D. Vance is claiming that she committed immigration fraud and an African nation is welcoming her to the country because an African territory tells Trump administration it will extradite Ilhan Omar after the Vance claim. So they're claiming that she committed some sort of immigration fraud and everything like
And
that.
it's just freaking noise. She's a
Yeah,
member of
that's a claim. Claims you need to have evidence and you need to have a hearing. I mean, there's so much noise coming out of Washington that you don't know what's truth, what's Memorex. It's really hard to even see on the internet, try to figure out what's really going on in Iran, what's really not. So,
Yeah, well, that's why I was glad that we had the gentleman,
Mr.
Mr. Wu, on from last week, and hopefully we can get him back and everything like that. But this is something that animals might be concerned about. I have a cute animal story for Nick in a minute. But apparently, Trump is going to revoke protection for endangered species in the Gulf of Mexico. So endangered species can lose protection, so U.S. can drill for oil. So if you're an endangered species over there in the Gulf of Mexico, you're not going to have any protection because he wants to drill for oil. So they're saying the whales and the turtles. So I'm sure the various environmental groups will be up in arms. But
yeah, well, especially the manatees, which are actually endangered. But I don't know if the drilling would. And why does he want to drill for oil in America? You have Venezuelan oil, and wait a minute, there's tons of oil in Iran. Maybe it's a good idea. Just go take their oil, Mark, and let's say we'll send the environmentalists out there, and they can take the Iranian oil, and we're good to go. So we don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm wondering if really is it the United States who's going to be suffering? It's going to be China and India, because remember, they're more dependent.
They're more dependent on the oil, and apparently they have some arrangements because apparently they were letting some of the oil go out to China and stuff like that. So
who are they that are letting what go out? See, the minute you find they, and today you
like the leaderships of Iran. My understanding was that they were letting some of the ships go to, like, say, China and Russia. They were the embargo on all nations.
You should find who they are,
right.
And change their mind. Hey, speaking of changing mind, there's Sasha.
Sasha's got to say, but
he seems like he's sunburned, so he may not be.
Well, he's traveling, he's having fun and everything like that. This is for everybody, including Sasha. It looks like there's a big name. Somewhere. It looks like there's a big push to change the name of a particular person because of what they supposedly did in terms of being violating people and all along those lines. And that is the person that was a key person in the farm workers movement, or the immigrant, that part of the movement, and that was Cesar Chavez. So California, where Rick is going to rename Cesar Chavez Day to Farm Workers Day. So apparently the race to drop his name has begun on various efforts, and definitely looks like they're trying to erase his name after these sex abuse allegations.
He was a rapist and a sexual predator, and
seriously, has he been convicted of those crimes?
No, he's been dead for what, 33 years or something.
And so they know beyond a reasonable doubt that those allegations.
People came forward with credible stories. So
credible stories, but they have hard evidence, or is it just people trying to discredit them? So I don't know. When you're talking something
anyway, I mean, regardless, his name is coming off of everything.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe his name shouldn't have been on anything to begin with. There's too much of these people having their names on stuff that's disgusting.
But hold on a second, Nick. That runs the whole problem, because I actually had this conversation earlier today. There is a gentleman, the gentleman because of his history and everything like that, that has his name all over the cultural center. Well, he didn't have his name all over the cultural center, but he has his name at least one location at the cultural center that I work at. That is Julius Carr, because he gave some money to an African American at that time church and everything along those lines. Julius Carr was also a known racist. So I've had several people that said, why can't you take that plaque and that name off and everything like that? But it's a historical building, and as a historical building, you have to keep the historical features up there. So that's a historical feature. So we can't just take the name off because we don't like the name.
Oh, sure you can. They do that all the time. As a matter of fact, in Tampa, they had a street. It was called Grand Central Boulevard. Now, if you're Grand Central Boulevard, look, it doesn't promote any person's agenda or political being whatsoever. They changed it to Kennedy Boulevard. Now, why would you do that? You changed it to a name of a guy who almost got us into a nuclear war. He increased the amount of deaths in Vietnam And then at the same time, what did he do? Blockaded Cuba, you know. So the thing is, you got this guy that shouldn't have his name on. Oh wait, he was killed in Dallas, so they renamed the street Kennedy Boulevard when it should still be, and maybe they changed it back to Grand Central Boulevard. What's wrong with Grand Central Boulevard? Why are we idolizing these idiotic politicians and these people? Get rid of these idols and just you know, have a normal name. I mean, you know, or a name that doesn't invoke, you know, politics, unless you guys want Donald Trump Boulevard on every one of your corner streets. I'm
So,
sure.
so by that logic, so by the logic you're given, because he has some interesting history as well, not as bad as Trump, but by that logic, we should stop naming everything that's got all these Jefferson names, because Jefferson had some interesting history and everything like that. And I mean, there's
Yeah,
towns named after him, there are buildings
yeah,
named after him, there's streets named after
yeah.
him.
Just
We
just
should just
make
get rid of all. So
make
by
it
your
a
logic,
nine
we should
name.
get rid of all the Jefferson stuff.
Yeah, I would just get rid of
Despite
all those named politicians. Just get rid of all of them. In other words, I like Grand Central Boulevard or Main Street. What's wrong with that? You know, Main Street doesn't invoke all this political garbage that's out there, unless you want your street named in your house Trump Boulevard, Trump Street, Trump Avenue.
Well,
I
he's
mean,
already
come
doing
on.
that.
You
He's
can't
already
do
got
it.
his own coin. He's already got his own Bitcoin
I
and
know
his
he's
own
yeah
everything else.
he wants his name and face on the $100 bill too. I don't want any of these politicians' names on anything, you know, because I don't want to hear about them. Why do you think I'm living in Spain? So I don't have to listen to this stuff except when I get on World Edition.
So
You
you don't,
know,
so you don't want to adopt.
Sanchez doesn't have his name on every street.
So you don't
Gosh,
want like
get
Washington
rid of
and
them.
Jefferson and the number of other bills that
Yeah,
people
just
have.
get rid of all these stupid politicians. You
So
know,
all the presidents,
they
all
have
the presidents on the various paper bills, you
yeah,
would get rid of.
yeah. You know, you could rename them after the Greek alphabet. Who cares? You know, Alpha Street, Beta Street, Delta Street. Who cares? You know, they don't involve all this politics. You know, just rename that and get rid of all these names and these people's faces on coins. I mean, this is really disgusting. You know, I mean, come
So
on.
hold on, I want to
Abraham
get to
Lincoln
Sasha because
sits
we do
on a
have Sasha
penny.
here and everything like that. Sasha, what's going on? I know we'll be talking about it on Tuesday, and I will send you the link later on today. But what is the conversation going on around Ukraine and the war there, and how much is this whole conflict in Iran playing a part in what's going on in Ukraine? So how are things going in the Ukrainian war on this day, March 30th, 2026?
Well, this Iranian war may negatively affect the ability of Ukraine to get American-produced weapons, because Americans can suggest that they need, and actually that's what they did a few days ago, the payment of Europeans for Ukrainian weapons. They appropriated that and send the weapons to Iranian theater instead of Ukraine, and they said that they will send it something to Ukraine as well, but it will be later on. And anyway, the Europeans owe United States so much for their protection since Second World War through NATO and through other things, that with this payment they have to make several more payments to offset the debt what Europeans owe to the United States. Well, we'll see how much debt is it and how much Europeans still have to pay Americans and when and how much. You know that stuff. Ukrainians are doing very well in the Arab countries, suggesting and making contracts, a lot of contracts for their anti-drone specialties, what they're famous today for. And they indeed have a great experience in that and the data points and so on. That's what distinguishes them from the United States or from any other country who claims that they have anti-drone defense, because their defenses has never been tried on the battlefield, while Ukrainian had and recommended themselves from the best point of view. So Ukraine is doing well on diplomatic front. They're holding on Russian army. Unfortunately, as a result of this war, Russians are making killing on the oil markets. So much money as never ever before. Oh, by the way, Iran is also making a lot of money, and thanks to this war. And actually, I don't understand one thing. United States is now fighting to have Strait of Hormuz open. But before this war, they were all open, from my knowledge. They were all open all the time. And now, because of the war, now they're closed. Now there is a fight to get them open again, which they were a month ago. Go and figure out. I don't understand this.
You know, get it either and everything like that. Apparently, there's a big push. I was going to ask, and I'll maybe ask him on the next show his thoughts around it. But and Rick can tell me what the exact amount is. But I know it's multiple billions of dollars is being asked for by the Congress to help with the Iran war effort and everything.
200 billion.
200 billion. So what is our
top of the $1 trillion military budget?
So that adds to the trillions that we're already in debt already. So this is just going to add more money to an already deeply in debt country.
Yeah. Okay. But Congress is pretty paralyzed. I doubt they will approve it.
Right, because they're paralyzed at the moment, and plus this notion that, and I think even Sasha has alluded to it, that the Republicans may lose a lot in the upcoming midterm elections and everything like that. So
they absolutely will. That we have this one measure of how much trouble the ruling party is in is how many members of Congress decide to retire instead of running for re-election, and the number right now is the second highest in history.
Oh, wow.
The highest of the 21st century and the highest since the record year of 1992.
Oh, wow. Hey, Sasha, I know that here in the U.S., I'm switching topics slightly and everything like that. I know here in the U.S., we're very big on these music show awards and everything like that. And, you know, the Grammys is sometimes seen as a entertainment thing to watch. You know, not everybody watches it and everything like that. And even the Tonys are sometimes watched. But I see y'all have a big night in Canada that y'all had last night. Joni Mitchell, who I forgot was from Canada, accepted the Lifetime Achievement Award. And apparently Drake, who I didn't know was from Canada, made a surprise appearance. So how much do people watch the Junos, because that's what it's called in Canada when it's taking place and everything like that? Because I did see that apparently Drake inducted Nelly Furtado into the Hall of Fame. So, and Joni Mitchell performed Big Yellow Taxi with Sarah McLachlan and Allison Russell. But does people like have glued to the TVs to watch the Juno the way that some people are for the Grammys?
I don't have any numbers, so it's hard to say. Probably there are enough numbers to justify putting on that show. I'm not watching Juno. I was watching last time Oscars a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Okay, I was watching that one. To me, highlights all the ceremonies and all the speeches. It's a garbage, it's a waste of time. And the only thing what I really enjoyed is a tribute of Barbara Streisand to Redford, and I think that was a highlight of the Oscar. And any meaningful live performances, that's what I'd like to see, and that's what I enjoy. And all the rest is actually garbage.
You know, just curious, like I said, I had forgotten about the Junos, even though I think I've seen that name.
They have all the money, all the fame, and what do they need? They need more recognition. It's just absolutely disgusting. Hey, but what is worth watching is the last minute of the Connecticut Duke game. There are no words. I have no words. I have no words.
You should have any words, because this is the first time that this has happened in 130 games or something like that. Because
you've got to see the last minute of Duke UConn. I have no words. I have no words. I have no words. Is what the coach said as Duke blew it big time. I mean, and then you got to give credit to UConn. They had a half court shot with like no time left. I mean, nearly a half court shot.
UConn is the winningest program, men's and women's. Well, women's for sure in college basketball history.
They were down 19 points. I mean, that's a lot in basketball. They were down 5 with like a minute and a half left, and they lost the game. It was pathetic. But actually, it was a great performance for UConn. But if you have a minute or two, go to YouTube, go watch the last minute of UConn and Duke. It's worth seeing. It's almost, and then the coach's commentary afterwards. I have no words. I have no word. He had nothing to say because I was going, how could you say anything? That was the worst performance that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, but it's still, their loss still depended on a guy making a circus shot.
He made a circus shot. I agree. It was like, wow. But it was certainly worth.
I mean, and it was like a common thing that many freshmen will do. I mean, he should have
squeezed the ball
foul and not try to do an over the head pass, which is when the pass got deflected and everything like that. It was definitely even though he's been getting a lot of praise, that was definitely, I won't say a boneheaded play, but it was definitely not the best play in the world.
I have no words, Mark.
But I also agree with what the coach said. That he's not going to lay it on that one player because they made mistakes throughout, and there was a number of players, and he was also fighting through a lot of things like injuries and other stuff.
Jacoby, how does this March Madness compare to previous years? More entertaining, less entertaining, same?
It's about the same. I got to switch to the phone real quick, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
He's going to switch to the phone because his computer's acting up. We did lose a actor, another one, another addition. I mentioned Chuck Norris earlier, but Alex Duong, a stand-up comedian and Blue Bloods actor, died at a young age at 42 after a rare cancer battle and everything like that. So I did see that came down because he apparently had faith that he was going to beat cancer, but he's passed away at the age of 42. So it must have been one of those rare cancers that people can suffer from and everything like that. But he was definitely a celebrity that was out there doing stuff. This cute story, the interesting story, and then we'll get back to some serious news that I was going to tease you about, Rick, because I know you like interesting stories, not just the sexual ones, but interesting ones just in general. And apparently in Wisconsin for a few days, but he has been recaptured and everything like that. There was a errant and escaping kangaroo. So not a donkey, because I know that donkeys is the symbol for the Democrats, but there was an errant and escaping kangaroo that jumped over the fence, thinking he got spooked by one of the people because it was like at a petting zoo or something like that. So he's probably from originally Australia, but he had disappeared for a while, but now he's apparently caught and back in his petting zoo. But he was
You talked about a guy dying of cancer. So
yes,
cancer mortality has been dropping steadily.
Mm-hmm.
Looked it up. Cancer mortality has declined by more than a third over the past 32 years, from 1991 through 2023. And they're aiming for a further 1/3 reduction in mortality by 2035 relative to 2015. And we're on the verge of a huge decline in cancer mortality thanks to technology, including AI tech. Among the ways you fight cancer are you train your body to be able to grab the cancer cells. And some cancer, there are hundreds of different kinds of cancer, and some cancerous cells are easier for your immune system to recognize and grab a hold of than others. But thanks to AI, we are making huge strides in teaching your immune system to grab the various shaped cells.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of great work in that space. Hey, Sasha, I know you do a lot of investment, and there's a major company that is celebrating their 50th anniversary. They've been around forever. Their symbol is recognized by many and everything like that. And apparently they started off in the garage, and now they are a $3.5 trillion titan and everything like that. So I just wondered your take, and if you still invest in Apple, which apparently also has a museum in Atlanta and everything like that. So I was wondering if you, or at least a museum exhibit in Atlanta. I'm not sure if it's part of a separate, I don't think it's a whole separate museum, but they're definitely an exhibit featuring them. But do you do a lot of investing of Apple into Apple and Apple products?
I don't think so. There is no company, whether it's Apple or Microsoft or anything, worth investing right now because of the Trump factor. and therefore all the stocks will go down. They just started to go down. Microsoft will still have to go down another probably $100 down before it could become attractive to buy. Right now it's not. Same as even Meta has to go down another 100 and 150 points. Nvidia will go down another probably 30 points down. So everything has to be sold. There is nothing to buy. Sell everything and just wait until he will be out of office. Until then, you cannot touch anything.
There's another company that I know you've mentioned, and definitely Jacoby, and I think he's trying to get on his phone, has mentioned as well. They've actually got offices here and everything like that. But apparently, they laid off 1,000 workers because a game that was very popular isn't as popular. So the creator of Fortnite has laid off more than 1,000 staff despite billions in revenue. So that was a very popular game that was out there. So I guess I'll turn to you, Rick. What is your take on this, since I don't see Jacoby around and everything like that? Because definitely they were very popular as a game and everything like that. And I guess they're not as popular as they used to be. So they had to lay off about 1,000 staff members.
I mean, people are getting laid off in tech as various managers get convinced that AI can do their job as well as the employees, which often turns out to not be the case. But that doesn't. Cory Doctorow, whom I bring up a lot, writes about current and future tech, and he says that AI doesn't have to do your job as well or better than you. All that has to happen is your idiot manager has to be convinced that AI can do as good a job as you.
There's something else. Let's see, AI now is capable to write a legal brief to be sent to the opposite lawyer. Now, the lawyer, there will be some errors for sure, but on the other end, they also do use AI to read that brief that was created by AI, and that other AI, they don't care about this little problems in original text. So it will be sent and accepted by other firm as well. So the legal brief, which could be in the real world considered to be defective, actually it's not, because on the other end, they also have defective AI, which will accept defective brief, and that's how it's gonna work. Nobody will spend hours, if not days, to check the brief, find some inaccuracies, and tell to the other side that, okay, there are some few inaccuracies. We're surprised that you didn't notice that. So therefore, all the briefs will be defective very soon. And probably the court cases, they will be defective because it will be based on defective briefs. So,
Sasha's right. Sasha's right in that the nature of human work will change because of AI, where when AI does work, it gets it like 99% right. And then humans have to catch the faulty 1%. That's very hard to do. If humans are doing the original work, they can catch their own errors as they work through it. If you're by AI work, that's almost completely correct, except for some little hidden bad errors. It's really hard to catch those. So we're going to be living in an era of good-looking but dangerously flawed products.
Nick, you'd be glad to hold on a second.
It's overrated.
Nick, you'd be glad to hear this before you get to the overrated part. Either on Tuesday, tomorrow, or Friday, I can't remember which day I booked her, but Dr. Robin Blackstone will be coming to town, and she wrote a book called Dr. AI. So it's actually a book that is looking at reimagining healthcare, rebuilding trust, and delivering health 4.0, which will be released on April 7th of this year. She's a New York-based physician and surgeon, and she'll be joining us. Like I said, it's going to be coming up. But she's in her book, she tries to explain the many dysfunctions that Americans experience in healthcare. She exposes an invisible pricing system built around CPT codes, relative values units, and closed-door governance, which is shaping medical behavior nationwide. And we'll get a chance to talk to her and learn more about these things that she is believing could be problematic. But yes, I've got to look at the date that I've got it booked, but it's either tomorrow or on Friday. But it's one of those 2 days.
Yeah, well, this whole AI conversation is way overrated. It only applies to one sector, which is information technology. Real estate, which is the biggest asset class in the world, isn't dependent on AI. So real estate will still continue. There'll still be jobs in construction, plumbing, electricians, engineers. I mean, come on. So who's creating this AI myth? Somebody should write a book on the AI myth. Who's creating it? It's the companies that benefit from deluding people that AI is going to be a great and wonderful thing. It's the Magnificent Seven, which right now accounts for 20%, which I found shocking, 20% of the US's GDP, which is 7 companies. And we all know who they are, the usual suspects, from NVIDIA and Apple. They're the ones that are creating all this stuff. But in terms of it revolutionary, the Microsoft Word program still isn't worth a darn. It's been around for years. Why isn't AI cleaning that up? Come on, guys. Give me a break. They don't have their basic systems working, and you expect us to believe in their AI. Is it an improvement? Yes. It was something IBM showed years ago on the Jeopardy. You can ask questions, it'll answer questions by doing very quick research and putting into human terms. That's it, But in terms of, it's going to revolutionize, give me a break. Now, what might help is the robots. In other words, they said boots on the ground. Well, if there's improvement in technology and there's robots, you won't need to put boots on the ground. You'll put robots on the ground. And I would like to see that. I think that could be something that would be very exciting. I think robotic technology can go a long way and make a difference. But in terms of IT, AI, forget it. It is just a bunch of hype. It's like, what was the last hype? It was cryptocurrency. There we go. Much ado about nothing. So I just want to hear about it because at one time it was .com. Guys, remember that in the year 2000? .com's going to take over the world. .com's going to do this. .com's going to do that, and .com was.
Yeah, we were all. If you had a web page, it was going to make you a millionaire in 1990.
Exactly, web page millionaire, and then it was cryptocurrency millionaire.
No, let's see from
AI millionaire. It's all garbage.
Just point out, Nick, you didn't realize what you said, but
no, I know exactly what I said.
I'm glad
mark
you
my
do.
words. No one can go to AI and just say, it's going to revolutionize the world.
You're gonna talk with me. You're gonna let me talk.
Not.
Are we gonna go through this again? Because I was gonna go ahead and speak.
All right, before you guys do that, I want to talk about.
Hold on, Rick. I didn't even get to make my point.
All right,
real quick.
Okay.
So just when Nick was saying about robotic technology and everything, yes, robots are coming. But guess what's going to run robotic technology? AI. So AI is actually on its way in multiple facets or multiple avenues. When you talk about even homes in the real estate industry, you know what they're using for those the Q&A answers when you want to look at a particular home before you even go in to meet with anybody. Guess what? You're using AI to talk to those people. So yes, AI isn't going to be building a home yet, even though it's coming because they're 3D printing homes and robotic technology is coming. It's just, we have to realize that AI is on the way. It is just like when people said the Ford Model T wasn't going to be any better than what it was, and we're always going to have horse and buggy. Now tell me where a horse and buggy is today that somebody's using to go from California to Las Vegas. Is there a horse and buggy that goes that far anymore? No. It's just the way the evolution of technology works. And right now, AI is growing quickly. We just have to realize it's on the way.
All right, I got another topic I want to discuss briefly. I was in my doctor's office yesterday. Asked him about COVID. Does he still see cases of COVID? He says, yeah, we still see a few. They're generally not as bad as they were. That this is probably going to be the best summer for not having COVID since COVID began. And I asked him, is it because COVID is less serious an infection, or is it because everybody has been infected or vaxxed against it? And he said the latter. Almost close to 99% of Americans have COVID antibodies in their blood. They've either been vaxxed or had it or both, which offers some protection. It's still around, but it tends not to kill you anymore because everybody's had it. Now, but there is one follow-on effect. If COVID F's up your brain, that means that like a third of Americans might have slightly effed up brains, and your brain's going to be effed if you watch certain TV. If you're a Fox News viewer, that's not great for your thinking skills either. But anyway, we might have an American and a world population where we're kind of schmuckier than we would have been otherwise because we've had these infections.
Yep, there's that going on.
Today, stock market is a little bit more alive than dead, just a little bit, a tiny bit. I've initiated the purchase of a new share, new for me. It's a well-known company with a new scale symbol SMR. And it was beaten down so much in the last few months, it was down 80%. So I decided, okay, there's still downside, but now it's very limited. And hopefully if market will just a tiny bit turn around, just a little bit. So it will go slightly higher. I don't think that it will go 80% higher than where it is now, but it may jump, I don't know. Maybe
so right now the Dow is up a little less than 300 points, 2/3 of a point. Overall, all three markets are in correction territory, down 10% since Trump started the war.
Yeah, definitely doing that. And everything
just a really quick thing on that, because oil's sitting at 114 a barrel, or did it go up or down? Because last I checked, it was at 114. But with oil going up, and now with the threats, and now with what Sasha talked about, even being in correction territory, stuff is about to plummet because inflation's going to go up, because we're coming up on the busy season. And because we're coming up on the busy season, that means gas normally would begin to skyrocket. Well, guess what's about to happen now with oil at 120 a barrel and going higher, coming up to the busy season that everybody travels and does stuff. Well, gas is going to go easily. It's at $4 right now. It's probably going to hit $5. And I'm talking about $5 where we are, Mark, which means that'll hit $9. Well, $8 to $9 where Rick is.
It's at $9
so
in California.
It's going to be idiotic travel in the next month. And then even more so, oil doesn't trade. That
you're trying to break up.
You're breaking up. So the gas price, there's a thing called summer blend gas, which is it burns cleaner, and most places have to switch over to summer blend. It's more expensive, it burns cleaner, and most states switch over to the summer blend by May 1st. So we're at April. In the next month, you can expect, I don't know, even if the price of oil does not go up from here, you can expect the price of gas to go up to about what, $4.50, even if the war goes well.
I know we're wrapping up and everything like that, because I know the economic show is going on and everything like that. But before we wrap up, I'm wondering if we're going to see more electric vehicles, because I know that I was on the Bandit yesterday, and they actually had to switch the bus because the bus needed to get charged. So I think they switched to a more traditional bus that wasn't electric. But yeah, I know that here in Durham, we've getting a couple of electric buses, and I think they eventually want to have them all electric and everything like that. So are we going to see more electric vehicles throughout the country?
Yeah, that was already going to happen. We were we've been slowly changing our infrastructure to make sure that wherever you go, you can get your car charged. And I don't know, let's look up how many.
Well, until they fix the infrastructure, EVs are cheaper right now. Until they fix the infrastructure, we're going to struggle.
So there are 70,000 public EV charging locations in the U.S.
Okay.
I don't know what the target is.
Yeah. I would think there's got to be at least 100,000 or a couple of million and things like that. But there's 70,000 so far. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But right now we're going to get out of here. By the way,
let's here's it's about to give me the target. The target is right now we're at 195,000 charging ports. That is individual parking spaces where you can get charged. So we're at 200,000. The target is 500,000 by 2030. And more than anything else, this current war may push us towards that.
Yep.
So even though it's a dumb war, it may have positive knock-on effects.
It may. And by the way, Dr. Blackstone will be on Friday. I did look it up as y'all were talking and everything. So the one that will be talking about medicine and AI will be on Friday's World Edition.
Awesome. Looking forward. All right. See you on the other shows.
See you on the other shows.